So welcome everybody. This is Debbie Wise and I am the project director for the NeighborWorks VISTA program. And I see we have both supervisors and members on the call today. And if you're a VISTA supervisor that has participated in the program before, this should all be pretty familiar to you. There are no significant changes to reporting since the previous program year. Also on the webinar is our VISTA leader, Samantha, and our Alkaline VISTA leader, Charlotte. So before we get started, I just want to first thank all of you for being on this reporting webinar today. Accurate and consistent reporting is really vital to the success and the funding of our VISTA program. Our VISTA members are the stars of the show, and our subsites and our supervisors make this program possible. All the important and impactful work that you do has supported our program into its 11th year. NeighborWorks America has a strong partnership with the Corporation for National and Community Service, and that wouldn't be possible without the strength and the support of our network. So please know that your efforts are greatly appreciated. There are many opportunities for VISTAs to report out on their accomplishments throughout the program year, and we'll be walking through those right now. So here's our agenda. We're going to start with an overview of what is reporting and monitoring and why is it important, and then we'll walk you through the various reports. And you'll see we have something called a project report, which is really the bigger, more significant one. There are quarterly reports. There's a 6-month, or consider it a mid-year, performance review. There's an attendance report, and then an evaluation at the end, and something called a future plans form. And then after we've walked through that, we're going to offer a brief overview demo of the reporting data collection tool. So reporting and monitoring. Why do you have to send your reports to NeighborWorks America? Well, we're the sponsor of this VISTA program, and one of the benefits of being in our program is that we collect and aggregate all the reporting on behalf of all the projects and send them into CNCS. So that means you are required to submit several reports, or we are required to submit several reports a year to CNCS. But we work hard to streamline that process and make it easy for you. NeighborWorks America has the responsibility of ensuring that reporting is accurate and that the reports are utilized to report the outcomes to Congress. Now, when you hear the word monitoring, that's something that CNCS takes on, and that it's their responsibility to monitor all VISTA member performance. So if CNCS or NeighborWorks America were to come out to your site and do a site visit, we will request documentation that illustrates your program performance, and we will ask to see your data collection tools and any backup documentation. One of the huge perks about being in the NeighborWorks VISTA program is that we have a data collection tool that we've designed for you, for every VISTA member to use. So that should make reporting a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, reporting is exciting because it's an opportunity for you to share with us and to talk about all the accomplishments and great things that you've been doing. So I want you to feel jazzed and excited about it because we want to hear about it, and I assure you, so does CNCS, and they really do read through all the reports that we submit on your behalf. So now we'll talk a little bit about the bigger report, which is a 6-month project progress report. You'll sometimes hear it referred to as the PPR. And this is the main report that is used to document project accomplishments during a specific reporting period. And like I said, that period is typically 6 months. And all the VISTA members in our project use something called a performance measures reporting tool, which is basically an Excel spreadsheet. And this is the tool that you use to capture any data and narratives that you've accomplished between a specific reporting period. So we recommend that you update this tool on a monthly schedule. And then VISTA members should review and include comments to the completed PPR prior to submission. So what that means is supervisors are ultimately responsible for reporting to NeighborWorks America, but those numbers and data and narratives do come from the VISTA members. So members do not prepare or submit the final report, but they are vital in providing that information to supervisors for them to submit. And this is something that gets submitted online to NeighborWorks. And you can see the due dates for the next 2 reports. So during the course of 1 program year, you'll be submitting 2 6-month project progress reports. So your first report will be due February 24th of 2020, and that's for the previous 6-month reporting period. And then the following 6 months, which would be the last 6 months of your service year, that report will be due in August, probably mid to late August, but the exact date will be shared with you a little bit later. So CNCS, they're the government agency that administers the VISTA program, and they're the folks that dictate the reporting due dates and the reporting periods. So they actually don't go too far out in advance with reporting. So as soon as they let us know when that second PPR is due, then we'll be sharing that information with you. And this is just a little snapshot of what that Excel spreadsheet looks like, that reporting tool that I was just talking about. And we'll get back to this a little bit later in the webinar, but I just wanted to first briefly cover why this data collection tool is so important. It really does make your reporting a lot easier. And it makes it easier for NeighborWorks America as a sponsor to get accurate reporting from all our subsites. Now, this information feeds into that PPR, that progress report, but it actually also feeds into another report called the VPRS, which is something that NeighborWorks America submits on your behalf. So you're not doing any extra work. We're actually capturing that data in your PPR, pulling it out, and submitting a whole nother report that happens behind the scenes that you really need never know about. But I just want to bring it up only because I think it's important for you to know that NeighborWorks America as the sponsor is doing a little bit more work in the area of reporting than you might realize. Because it is such a large national project, there are a lot of requirements of us as the sponsor. So there are numbers and data and narratives that we pull from the information you give us to share with CNCS in ways that may not be apparent to you. The other benefit of this tool is that it ensures consistent data from all our members serving with our project. Right now we have about 50 members serving, so there are a lot of you out there, and we want to make sure that we're collecting accurate, reliable information that we can then share with CNCS. This tool also allows you to combine stories with your data, and when we do a little demo of that, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And this is a great tool to also have when it's time to produce it for monitoring purposes. So like I said, if we were to make a site visit, or if CNCS were to make a site visit, if you produce this tool, that's telling us and CNCS that you're in compliance and you're following the rules and collecting the data the way it's supposed to be collected.
We just have a quick question. Haley asked, will the report due dates be different if we started on September 3rd versus August 19th?
Great question, and thank you for that. No, the report dates will not be different, but I can understand why you'd ask. The reason they're not different is just because for ease of reporting, it would make it a lot more cumbersome for everybody to have various due dates that correspond exactly to your start date. So even though you started in September, you'll still be following the one report date for everybody. And like I said, CNCS determines these dates and who reports out on them. And so they're actually doing us a favor by keeping it consistent to just one report date for everybody. Okay, so let's move on to the quarterly report. So this is something that is turned in 4 times during your service year. And this is a narrative only report, although you are welcome to insert data points in here if you have them and it makes sense. But basically what CNCS is looking for is narrative and photos that just highlight any of your accomplishments from the previous quarter. So even though it's quarterly and there are 4 reports, as the sponsor, I would like all of you to aim to submit at least 3 of these reports, but no less than 2. And the reason being is, for example, let's take the first quarter. You might not have made a lot of leeway yet on your projects in the first few months. So you might have quite a bit to report out in Q2 and Q3, but not so much in Q1. So it just doesn't make sense to make this a required report if you don't have much to say. And we really don't want you to submit anything just to submit it or to make it fluff. We're really looking for something substantial that we can then pass on to CNCS. So if it makes more sense for timing and for your project to submit just 2 or 3 of these reports, then by all means do that. Now, if you do have accomplishments that you'd like to share in all 4 quarters, then that's fantastic too. And don't feel like you have to wait for the due date. There are times when we hear from sites and VISTAs somewhere in between these dates because they're ready to submit something or talk about an accomplishment that happened maybe right in the middle of a quarter. And that's okay too. Don't feel like you have to hold on to something big. We are, wanting and open and ready to take your quarterly reports whenever you have them, and just leave it up to us to aggregate that and then send it to CNCS on a schedule that works for them. So these are sent to us via an email, and you can see all the reporting period quarters on here along with the corresponding due dates. Typically, VISTA members will produce a narrative, maybe pull a few photos, share that with their supervisor, then their supervisor will look that information over, make any necessary edits, and then go ahead and send that into us. Okay, the next type of report is called a 6-month or mid-year performance review. And that's exactly what it sounds like. And this is at your mid-year mark in your service year. And this is an opportunity for supervisors to sit down with VISTAs and to have a more formal mid-year check-in. Technically, this is not a requirement by CNCS, but as a sponsor, we feel it's really important that you have a 6-month check-in, because it's just such a great opportunity to provide feedback and clarity and maybe refocus some of the expectations. And we provide a review and assessment tool for you to help you with these conversations. So we ask that everybody have their 6-month performance review in by March 16th, and that would be the same for the folks that started in September. And again, that's just something that you would send to us via email. Okay, moving on. We do have attendance reporting. Now, this verification report is something that NeighborWorks, as the sponsor, we submit this on your behalf. So this actually requires me to go into eGrants, submit a report every 2 weeks, and make sure that all the VISTAs that are on our project are still reporting for service. Now, this report is actually pretty important in that it's the report that is linked to the living allowance, and it also is tied into payroll. So if a VISTA member is not reporting for service or stopped for some reason or is just stopped showing up, we need to make sure that the corporation has knowledge of that immediately. So if that's the case, always reach out to me as soon as possible, and then we will reach out to CNCS, because what we don't want to happen would be a VISTA to get overpaid. If a VISTA accidentally receives a payment that they weren't supposed to, the government will want their money back. And so we really want to avoid that situation. And this VISTA attendance report is what helps control and monitor that. So there's really nothing that you need to do as a supervisor. I'll be sent, and you've already seen these emails. They come out every 2 weeks. And it's just a reminder, a courtesy reminder to you all to let us know if there is an issue with attendance or unauthorized absences, just something we need to be aware of. If there's nothing that we need to know, you can delete that email. You don't have to reply, but it's just a really nice trigger reminder that this is something that's really important, because I'm going to be going into eGrants and saying that your VISTA is serving as they should, unless I hear differently. Okay, now we're getting to the end of the year. So there is another report that CNCS requires at the end of the service year. This is called a future plans form. And in addition to that, it's also really good practice to wrap up the end of the service year with a performance evaluation. So this is something that supervisors will mainly be responsible for. They have to fill out Part B of the future plans form and send that in to us here at NeighborWorks before the end of the VISTA's service. Now, if you're a VISTA member, the future plans form will become available to you in your MyAmericorps account, I believe roughly 60 or 90 days before the end of your service. So when you go into your account, at some point you will see that form available. You VISTA members fill this out online. VISTA supervisors fill out the Word version of the form and send it to us. Then we will process all these future plans forms and send them into CNCS. So that form is a really important CNCS form that is crucial to out-processing the VISTA member. The other part of the end of service is the performance evaluation. So all VISTA supervisors will be receiving a performance evaluation form that you're welcome to use, that we provide to you for that conversation. So it's really just really a gift, I feel like, to your VISTA member to have that conversation and wrap up their service year and, you know, talk about their next career move or the transition plan for the next incoming VISTA and what's going to happen with that project. So it's really just an opportunity to have that conversation. And like I said, we'll provide a form and a tool to help you navigate that conversation. So this is all going to happen in July. And as we get closer to that time, we will be providing an exact date. So you'll have a better idea of when exactly we're going to need those future plans forms. But as far as having a sit down with supervisors and VISTA members, you know, that can happen on your own time frame, on your own calendar, in terms of when's a good time to have that conversation. Although I would recommend having it no less than 4 weeks out from the end of service date. Now this screen gives you a snapshot of all the reports and all the due dates. And I know it looks like a lot when you're looking at it in this format, but just keep in mind that all 4 quarterly reports are listed on here. So if you have something to report in all 4 quarters, that's great, and you can go ahead and do that. We have the 2 PPRs, which are the 6-month progress reports, very important reports. Then we have in the middle of the year is the performance review, and then at the end of the year, there's another evaluation and the future plans form. something to be aware of is that the final 6-month progress report and that final Q4, that quarterly report, may happen close to the time your VISTA leader is or your VISTA member is ending service. So if that's the case, if your member is going to be leaving before that report is technically due, make sure that you get updates before your VISTA member leaves for the end of their service. Okay, and I will give this slide over to Samantha.
Thank you, Debbie. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to take this opportunity to let you know about a follow-up webinar that I'm going to be hosting in about 2 weeks. During that webinar, which is just for VISTA members, I will provide a walkthrough of the reporting tool, which Debbie showed a quick image of earlier, and show members how to use that tool and so that they know how to accurately track their progress. I will be sending out an email with an invitation to that webinar before the end of this week. And just to let you know, that will be on Tuesday, October 8th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks, Debbie.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sam. And we're not done, folks. We have a slide here to take some questions and comments. And then after we address a few questions, if we have any, we're going to go ahead and give you a quick demo overview of what that performance measurement tool looks like, the one that's in the Excel file. So any questions, feel free to chat them in using the online chat feature, or if you're more comfortable unmuting your phone line, you can go ahead and ask your question that way. And we're just gonna wait here for a couple minutes and give folks a chance to think about this. I know I shared a lot, and if you're new to this, it is a little overwhelming at first, but I promise you, once you're used to it, it does make a lot of sense. Okay, well, we're not going anywhere. Please bear with us. If you do think of a question in the next few minutes, please chat that or hold on to it. So now what I'm going to do is turn things over to Charlotte. She's going to go ahead and share her desktop so you can see what this Excel file looks like. All of you should have this Excel. I've emailed it out a couple times already. But if you don't have it or you don't think you have it, please let us know and we'll get it right out to you.
All right, so hopefully you all can see this Excel sheet up on my screen right now. What you're seeing right now is the first in a series of tabs that you can see at the bottom of the screen here where my cursor is. The cover sheet aggregates all of the data from the rest of the sheet. So this is where your VISTA is going to type in their basic information. And then you can see if you scroll down, these are all of the categories where data is being tracked in this sheet. And the total numbers that aggregate throughout the sheet will pop up here for easy access. So VISTA supervisors, when you're going in to pull this data for your PPR reporting, you can probably just look at this cover sheet and the formulas will calculate so that you can just pull all the data you need right from here. So if you go through the tabs here, each tab has a certain number of categories where data can be reported. And then there's also instructions and definitions of key terms. So this is on every tab. As you can see, this first one is just to track volunteer-related data. Then there's a resource development tab and so on. So I'm not going to go into much depth here, but as you can see, there's all types of categories where data is tracked in this sheet, including a miscellaneous tab where there's some statistics, or you would collect data on things like veterans and veteran families served or engaging youth. And then finally, this Stories from the Field tab at the end is where your VISTA member is going to write the narrative of what they've accomplished in a certain amount of time. So, excuse me, we do suggest that VISTA members update this sheet every month. You're going to want to have those accessible to your supervisors, so maybe putting them in some type of shared drive. And as you can see, with so many categories in this sheet, it's really built to encapsulate every type of project that a VISTA member could be doing in this program. So we do not expect VISTA members to have numbers in every single one of these categories. That's just not realistic. Realistically speaking, VISTA members are going to report a lot of zeros. There's going to be 1 or 2 areas where they're working, or maybe even less, and then the rest will not be applicable, and that's fine. We totally expect that, and it's not a problem. So the numbers that you do report will aggregate on that front tab, but we also want narratives. So for example, if a member is reporting out that they submitted 2 grant proposals for a reporting period, this is where you're going to say where the grant was from, how much money was awarded, etc. So we want to know what the numbers you're reporting elsewhere in this sheet mean. It's also spaced because we know that not every possible activity is recorded in the data sections of the sheet. So there is a big chance that a VISTA member might be doing something that they don't know where to put that information in this sheet. So we highly encourage VISTA members to take advantage of this space to write as much as they want about the accomplishments that they've had during a reporting period. So I think that's a general overview. And then as Samantha said, there's going to be a much more in-depth demo of this same tool just for VISTA members on Tuesday, October 8th.
Okay, thanks, Charlotte. We're just going to hang out here for a little bit longer and see if there's any more questions that come through the chat box, or if you'd like to ask us a question over the phone. We are here to answer your reporting questions. Hopefully everybody now has received the overview of report due dates, report types. We shared the reporting manual. We shared the tool. So you should have everything that you need. There's a user guide that goes along with that reporting tool. So if you completely spaced out while Charlotte was talking, that user guide has everything you need to know. But Sam's going to be going all over this in depth in a couple of weeks. But we have a lot of information on reporting and how to report and best ways to report. You know, we've been doing this for 10 years and we've seen a lot of good practices. So please don't hesitate to call, reach out with questions, because the reporting is really vital. And, you know, we want you to share your accomplishments. We want you to feel excited about showing off. I'll tell you right now, CNCS loves photos. So the more photos you take and share with us, we always pass those along. So please use your camera phones and take lots of pictures and stay in close touch with us to report out about reporting.
So Sharon's asking, how do sites make sure they're reporting on what's most valuable to NeighborWorks America? That actually CNCS determines what's most valuable, and we just pass that along. But the tool that I just pulled up, and if you missed that, your VISTA member should definitely attend the reporting webinar in a couple weeks that they're going to receive an invitation to. That tool has every category for what you're going to need to report in your PPRs. And there's also some in-depth guidance in the reporting manual about what we're looking for in quarterly reports. So refer to that reporting manual if you're ever wondering about what we're looking for.
Yeah, and I thank you, Charlotte. And I just like to add that 95% of these questions are CNCS questions. There's a few sprinkled in there that NeighborWorks America wants to know and likes to know, and they're already built into the PPR. You know, the other things that are helpful for NeighborWorks America to know would be when we send out surveys. So if you've been in the program for a while, you know that we send out a lot of surveys, and we like to know, you know, how valuable the program is to your organization. We like to know about sustainability. We like to know if you have ever been in a position to hire your VISTA member after their service year is over, and if it was a full-time job, part-time job, a newly created position, that kind of information. So we use surveys a lot to help get the information that NeighborWorks America feels is very valuable, that then justifies our commitment to the program and the funds that we spend on it, and then also justify it to CNCS and go back to them and tell them what a wonderful, impactful program this is. So thank you for asking. Okay, any more questions while we're here? And don't worry if you can't think of anything right now. This is not your last chance to ask questions. We're here all the time, but we will be back online in 2 weeks when Sam does her webinar. I would say my best advice when it comes to reporting is just carve out a little bit of time to look through all the attachments in the email that I sent out. Get familiar with the instructions, get familiar with the questions we're asking, and build it into your routine. Just make it a part of your monthly routine to capture the reporting, capture it as what you do. Like Charlotte said, make sure it's on a easily accessible place on your shared drive. So if your supervisor needs to access the reporting on a day you're not there, they're able to do that. Just spend some time to read through that information and absorb it. And then in a couple of weeks, I think once you've had time to sit with it, you may find you do have a few questions for Samantha, and that's great because that's what the webinar is for. Okay, well, thank you everybody for being on today's call. It doesn't look like we have any more questions coming through. We do have a raised hand. Do we have another question before we log off?
Hi, Bobby. I unmuted your phone line if you'd like to ask your question. Okay, I think that might have been a... Oh.
Okay, we have something coming through chat. Yes, thanks, Sadie. The VISTA fills out the tool, and the tool is that Excel spreadsheet, and your VISTA will be filling that out on a monthly basis. And then when it's time for you to report out on that 6-month project report, you should have 6 Excel files, and you can just aggregate the data and the narratives from this first 6 months. So you'll be pulling that information out from the tool and submitting that to us online. So when we get closer to the time that report is due, I'll be sending out an email with a link. And that link goes to an online, we use a platform called Survey Gizmo, which captures your report data. So you will be extracting the information from the tool that your VISTA fills out. So you pull out the reporting out of the tool and just plug it in online and send it to us. So NeighborWorks America does not collect those tools. We do not need you to send us that Excel file. That is something that you keep on file at your organization. So if we come for a visit or if CNCS visit or we ever request it, you'll have that ready to share with us, but you don't have to share with us every month. All we need you to do is report the data and the narratives that come out of that tool. Okay, so we got another question about if we recommend supervisors attend the next webinar. You're certainly welcome to. It's really designed more for VISTA members. But you know, if you feel as a supervisor you'd like a more in-depth understanding about how that tool works and what the expectations are, yes, you are welcome to join us in a couple of weeks on the webinar that Sam will be offering. I would also encourage you as supervisors to flip through the user guide that goes along with that tool. It's really comprehensive. I mean, extremely comprehensive. So it will pretty much answer just about every question you have. But as a supervisor, if you'd also like to join on the member webinar in a couple weeks, then that would be fine. Okay, you're all asking such good questions. Thank you so much. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for your commitment, and thank you for spending time with us. Like I said, reporting is important, and I'm happy to see so many of you online today. We have recorded this webinar, so if you can't get enough reporting and you want to watch it again, we'll be sending this out a little bit later. But for now, I will say have a great day, everybody. And if you think of more questions later, just give us an email or a phone call and we'll get right back to you.